up, people of the internet? Tis Dave, tis Duncan, back from Metal Epidemic for another album review. For this review, Duncan and I have been checking out the new release from Denver, Colorado duo Thrillrot. The band's new album, Thrillrot, will be released on October 17th via Lost Future Records. Thrillrot is a two-piece metal band from Denver, Colorado. Known for their hard-hitting and energetic sound, the duo blends thunderous drums, blistering guitars, and seething vocals into a powerful assault, raw intensity without apology. Every show, the band aims to deliver aggression you can bank on, with the visceral nature of the genre always at the forefront. Thrillrot's debut full-length is a brutal, unrelenting meditation on collapse of self, of city, of spirit. Drawing influence from Peter Wessel Zappa's dark essay The Last Messiah, the record channels generational trauma, economic despair, and existential rot into a vicious, reflective sound. Across 12 tracks, the band tackles themes of identity, violence, memory, and torment with lyrical sharpness and sonic weight. Each song is a wound, self-inflicted, and wide open. This is not just a gut punch, it's a full-fledged five-knuckle shuffle. Welcome to a new breed of hopelessness. The album was produced by Thrillrot, Andy Nelson, and Ben Kaplan. Engineered and mixed by Andy Nelson, then mastered by Brad Boatwright.
It's fucking like the Mount Rushmore right there.
That's a fucking dream team right there.
We love you, Brad.
We do. This one came about because we did a premiere on the website for Thrillrot last month. We premiered one of their singles, Anthem, I think the track was. And at that point, like, I hadn't heard the album. I just we ran the premiere. I saw the photos of them which came in, and it was like, firstly it was like a duo. I was like, okay, hello there.
Sounds like almost like Dave language, short code for or shorthand for Dave.
But they also, like, from the photos I could tell they had like a bit of a cheeky side as well, like posing with, like, there's a photo with them posing with like a plate of pancakes, and then there was only like an old school ghetto blaster, and I was like, okay, I like that, a bit of fun here. Plus the track that we premiered absolutely slapped, so I was like, okay, on you go to the stupidly tall review pile that we already have.
So long this month.
But I figured, like, this week I knew was going to be quite heavy on the kind of like post-metal and sludge and stuff, so I thought maybe this might, kind of lighten the mood. Add a little bit of...
Did you read their press statement?
a little bit
Generational trauma, Dave. That's lightening no mood.
Yep, the equilibrium may not be balanced, but,
No.
that was my thought. But I thought, it could be fun. It could be a fun listen.
Fun.
Yeah, I mean, and it is kind of fun, isn't it?
It's old school.
It's old school.
It's old new school.
Yes,
New old school?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Aye, one of those.
There's that, it reminds me of the 90s, it reminds me of the 2000s, it reminds me of the 2010s, but it has a 2020s sheen to it.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
It does. It does make sense. So we all know I love a duo. But does Duncan love a duo?
They all know I love a duo as well.
Duncan
Like,
loves a
let's
duo.
not like pretend that we don't have like 5 years in the spank bank of me going that. A duo, Dave, that's a great idea.
I mean, it's, some of the greatest duos of all time, Duncan, are...
Dave and Duncan.
Dave and Duncan.
There we are. Well, I mean, need we go further than that? I you know what?
I don't know.
I would say that Ant and Dec better be holding on to those TV awards because we're coming for them.
Mario and Luigi, I don't know. Fucking
We're just discounting Yoshi.
Scooby and Shaggy.
What about the rest of the mystery team?
Han Solo and Chewbacca. I don't know. There's just, there's a natural spark there, Duncan. There's a natural spark. So what did you think? What did you make of this? Did you have a good old fun time with Thrillrot's debut?
So we spoke about this briefly. We went to the cinema because we clearly aren't spending enough fucking time together.
Yeah.
Went to the cinema and we were standing outside the cinema and I was meditatively telling you why you were wrong about your opinion on the movie that we saw,
Oh, yeah.
which you've disregarded and forgotten about already because you
Yeah.
disliked it that much.
Uh-huh.
And we're talking about the sheer volume of music that we have, like in the review pile. And what I'd said to you was that there was something about Thrillrot that just instantly ingratiated itself to me because it was like listening to a comfort album for me. Now, granted, this is more sharp edges than a junkie's pocket, but you know what I mean. There is something very comforting about switching this on, in that within. Like, even I'll tell you the exact moment I knew I was going to enjoy this was
Right.
the obligatory opening track, which has all the instrumental stuff that builds up, and I was like, oh, we've got 1.5 minutes of fucking strings. Here we go. Here we go. And it was like they almost heard me say that, and like that. Count me in. And like, and it switched into a metal track halfway through it, which made my heart sing, because there's only so many intro songs of stuff that never gets repeated in an album again that wants me to bash my fucking head off a wall. And like straight away from a Pledge of Promise, which cheekily evokes like hardcore by way of like 90s Machine Head. It just like, even that boo like thing, it like warmed my heart in a way where, like, I didn't know they were duo either, because I don't read the press. Dave reads the press. I go in on feeling here. I would have thought 3-piece. That's where I was going. Although now you mention it, there is no bass here. So I just assumed the bass player was like in the shadows, like a shadowy druid. In the back going, that I have to be not seen nor heard. Like all bassists should be. Get them in there.
Shots fired.
But yeah, like the thing that Thrillrot have for days is huge riffs and grooves, right? I just like every song is anchored by a colossally huge riff, right? And they switch between that kind of, I suppose we would say, metallic hardcore kind of vibe, and something a little bit more traditional, kind of new thrash by way of Machine Head is the way I would liken it. But that's not to say that they don't fall into the trappings of, and we're starting to get a lot of it now because of the old 20-year itch, Dave, of that kind of new wave of American heavy metal, which I'm like, if you have to use new twice in it, it's not new. So cancel each other out, and it's just so like they don't fall into that. They've kind of grabbed a kind of slightly 90s vibe and brought that in, which I think actually makes her sound a lot punchier. The emphasis on, and we'll get to the tightness because there's two of them. Like, there's no gap here for like error. We'll talk about, but the riffs themselves are really, really interesting, and they will switch like at pace between something really chunky, groovy, and then something a little bit more intricate, a little bit more exciting, a little bit more colourful, a little bit more work in there. The second thing I'll say is the album is really well structured, in that they make a conscientious choice of not having tracks that are too similar together, even if the formula of the track kind of evokes something you've heard before. The setup's different, even the kind of interlude or breakout bit is different how they approach these songs side by side. That's not to say every track is original. There are tracks that definitely lean back on techniques previously used in there, but like when you're listening through, by the time you get to the halfway mark of this one, you've already went through like colossally big sims. Like Feedback Loop is a great example of a track where, like, Hole is before that, you know, it starts from screaming, I dug a hole, right? You know, it's just like, and it's like really nasty and hardcorey and snarly. Feedback Loop is full of big, like, guitar solos and like huge sections that open up the sound. And you're like a chunky, groovy breakdown at the end, which is just you know, that's sort of like, just wait, like you want to pull a stank face, you want to jut your jaw out, and you want to start going. When you're listening to it, it's hard not to.
Yeah.
And then the second half of the album, from the title track, Thrillrot, kind of just picks up and carries on the energy in a really interesting way. I think for a band that you said have a bit of a humour about them, they've got like a darkness in their sound as well. And when I say darkness, I mean in tone, not as in I Believe in a Thing Called Love. About their sound as well, which I kind of think is great. I can see why they led with Anthem in terms of putting that out there. Anthem's a really good indicator of that sound. I was talking about the tightness. Like the drums and the guitar are locked in like drone strike level precision here in terms of the synchronicity. And there's a snap to that drum production that I kind of love. You just like, once again, reminds me of kind of late 90s, early 2000s metal, where like we weren't like moving everything exactly onto the grid, but we were just like spicing up like the snare hit, and triggering up those bass drums just a little bit for a little bit more punch. It's really snappy, and a really cool way. It fits the sound, like gives it that kind of harsh metallic vibe. The drumming on this is great. It's very inventive, very creative. Kind of reminded me, and I'm going to use this as an example purely because they're also a duo, but more in terms of the creativity, what's done. Mantar, like when you listen to the Mantar drummer really fills space well.
Yeah.
The drummer of Thrillrot not only will like lean directly into following exactly what the pattern is of the guitar, but he's not scared like to break away from that and then just kind of give you something more interesting to listen to when a lead part comes in. He's not doing the Lars thing, which is I played this drum beat for 3 minutes. Yeah. We're just going to keep playing it while they do their solos. Like shots fired at Lars. But you know what I mean? There's that. He makes a conscious choice of making those drums sound really interesting. His footwork is brilliant as well. Really rapid at times, but really kind of punchy, energetic. It sounds young, sounds vibrant, sounds really, really, really cool. Last thing I'll touch on before we talk about production is the vocals. Love this guy's tone. It's fucking perfect. If you ask me what the definition of a metal singer's voice is, it's kind of this, you know what I mean? It sits in the right register, it's got a great range, the scream's not too oppressive, everything is totally clear. You make out every word the enunciation is perfect, it's not too muddied. I love the bits where we get some kind of cool backing vocals. I'm assuming he's doing those as well. On tracks like Anthem, you get gang vocals because there's a bit of hardcore in there. It all round works really well. And then you get that production, which is like picture perfect for their sound. It's got that kind of cold metalcore metallic sound about it, but not so much that it removes any life from the session as well. Yeah. It's really powerful. I'm not going to say I'm surprised. We've heard so many duos now that nothing really surprises me when I'm like, there's two. Because nowadays, two people can sound like Slipknot. But there's a punchiness and power to this one that production accentuates to the point that you could be mistaken for thinking there's more people in this band. So yeah, like, Thrillrot are not... I feel I'm using this phrase a lot these days, but they're not necessarily bringing anything new to the table, right? Like they are treading over well-trodden ground, right? But as debuts go, I think there's a lot to celebrate here. I genuinely think the creativity and the songwriting, the switch-ups, that mix of the old and the new, the involvement of that kind of more hardcore streak through their music sounds fucking great. And they're onto something here for me. It's 42 minutes and there is not a boring track on here at all. Like, it flows really well. It gets to the end and, dare I say, kind of invites you to take another spin. So I had a great time with this one. You chose wisely, Dave, because this was a perfect palate cleanser to some of the other albums we were doing this week. Even though it is snarly, heavy, and aggressive, it did clear the air pretty well. The same way that you would, after your amuse bouche, you'll have a wee sorbet before you jump into your starter or your entree. You know what I mean? Like, there's a sharpness to the tone that just clears everything out, and you can go anywhere you want to from there. So yeah, like the thing that and this is what we call a segue in the business, ladies and gents. The thing that kept coming through my head when I was listening to this was like that. Dave's having the ball, right? Like, I could tell you were having the ball because a lot of this is in the Davey wheelhouse, which has a combination lock which no one can crack except Dave. How did you get with it overall? Like, you'd obviously heard Anthem. It was enough to tickle you there. There was plenty of names against it that have a bit of clout. Did the full runtime live up to Anthem?
Yeah, I think there's definitely a lot that I enjoyed about this, for sure. Like, that is definitely in my wheelhouse. There are a couple of things I think maybe need adjusting, but I'll come up to that kind of later on. Yeah, first I just want to kind of double down on something you said. Like the chemistry of the duo. Coming off of reviewing Friendship Commanders last week,
Yes.
that was another duo that kind of blew me away. So like I was already kind of primed this week. I was like,
I've already coined the phrase, right? I've already coined. Even we are halfway through the decade of the duo.
yeah.
It's been since we came back,
So
man.
many, yeah.
Since we came back to reviewing, right? I'm calling it right now. This is the decade of the duo.
Yeah, I mean, and Thrillrot are another one, like to add to the list. And there's a real like from the start of this, there's a real kind of like synergy between Noah and Mason. Just like it just kind of leaps out at you from the album straight away. There's that just the tightness, the syncopation, and the flow. Even just on the intro track itself, you could feel like everything is so kind of locked in. Like I would not be surprised if you told me like we recorded the majority of this like as two of them in a room,
yeah,
and then we added some overdubs kind of after. Like it has that like kind of live energy kind of feel to it. And even in the moments that aren't like perfect, there's like, you know, a lot of moments where you can hear like a fill maybe kind of slightly speed up and get ahead of the beat, but the guitars are still right there. Like they never lose that connection. And that's that kind of like the symmetry of that the kind of duo. It runs kind of deep in the kind of veins.
No
of
place.
this
That's what I
album.
say. There's no place. If there's two people, there is no place to hide
Yeah.
mistakes. Like you can have a muddy bass that can clear out a lot of shit.
Yeah.
Ain't here. So
No. And these guys, like they are, as you said, they are all about the groove and all about the riff. And this is not an album that is fucking around. Like Thrillrot are all about creating tracks that are loaded with neck breakers, and it's an album made for the pit, to be honest. Like the whole time I was listening to this, I was like, I can imagine people just like moshing and like jumping up on stage and throwing themselves off into the crowd. Like it has that kind of feel and energy about it.
the way I imagine like a throwdown gig is, you know, like that. Just like every single song, you're like, oh no, they're playing this one. Oh, back into the pit again.
For sure. Like every track has like a monster of a verse riff that drives the track forward, but you know, and it's bouncy and it's groovy, but it ultimately is kind of setting up these moments of destruction where like they either go like halftime or they'll go more discordant or just get kind of plain kind of nasty with it. And the first four tracks really are just like big and ballsy, like just metalcore, hardcore. It's full of girth. A lot of it kind of did remind me of that kind of late 90s, early 2000s kind of era, before the kind of watering down of it. Like before, like I'm looking at you, Trivium. Like I mean, you know, when it was all about the riffs, you know, at that point, at that time period.
You imagine like these guys playing live somewhere and both Trustkill and Ferret have representatives and they're got that.
Definitely.
This is the sound we've been looking for. Like, I mean,
yeah, we've no like melodic leads or like uplifted choruses here. It's just like fucking cinder block riffs on this album. And just like I feel like in that first four tracks, I was like, okay, I've kind of got a feel for this. I know what these guys are all about. I know what's kind of coming for the rest of this album. And like I'd have been totally fine with that. Like this scratches an itch, like for sure. But then track 5, The Law, there's like a slight pivot on that track, and they bring this kind of additional kind of layer into their sound. The guitars get a touch darker in places, a little more extreme sounding. And then towards the end of the track, they combine the guitars with this like almost kind of, it's almost like a kind of symphonic kind of melody over the top. But it's not overpowering. It's not like they didn't turn into Nightwish or anything like that. Like it's a subtle kind of like addition, but just enough to kind of switch it up on the track, which I thought was really cool. Another thing
also links back to the intro. Which once again,
another thing I really like about this band is samples. Bring back the samples, bands. Come on.
I don't know when that's. We've done this before. When did that start? It's so much so now. Like there was a time period where like if you didn't have a sample, were you even a band? Nowadays, like I genuinely, when I hear it, I'm like, Oh,
Yeah, I know.
like,
I know. I don't know if like just things got more difficult, like with copyright and stuff like that, and bands were like, I can't be fucked going through, jumping through hoops to try and get this on an album. But when I hear it now, I'm like, oh, it takes me back. It just
we
takes me
were
back to
about
that
like
place.
though, for like without breaking walls and barriers. Like that's what I was one of the many things I did in our band, and it was it stuck from our like early demo
Yeah.
right through until we left. Samples, like there
Yep.
were everything we ever did had like a sample of something
Yeah.
somewhere because it was just fun to do, and it was
Yeah.
also fun to see if people that were listening and went,
That reaction.
"Fuck,"
Yep.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there was a cool element about that. It was interactive, and it's a dying art.
Yeah, and like they had that with this album. They opt for a little bit of the Eastwood, a bit Good, the Bad, the Ugly, which was really cool. And it kind of sets up the breakdown at the start of Sacred Will of Blood perfectly. It's like that sample was made for a breakdown. It was so like perfectly placed. Also like the fact that instead of like a calm kind of mid-album interlude, Thrillrot just kind of double down and just be like, no, we're going to give you like 80 seconds of just fucking more riffs, like more assault on the ears. And then like the deeper we get into the back half of the album, things also start to kind of like turn a little bit, ever so
But
slightly.
aggro melody and stuff like that in the back half, which isn't in front.
Yeah, Anthem does have more of a kind of like almost kind of rap, kind of new metal kind of bounce to it, which was cool. I'd heard the track before, obviously we premiered it, but and then for Total Eclipse, they kind of like reach into their bag of tricks and pull out some like kind of post-hardcore type melodies. Like we had this up our sleeve the whole time. Like, and it's cool. Like they nail the delivery of the vocal, the harmonies are killer. I like the track. I'm not 100% sure if the chorus worked for me. It's the one song that I feel like maybe just kind of jumped a little bit too far. Like it almost kind of like it's touching into that like A Day to Remember kind of type territory where. And I like that band. Like that's like not an issue with that band, but I'm not entirely sure that it completely worked.
You
for
just
me.
hate pancakes, that's what it is.
Yeah. That being said, the preceding track, Leech, like it comes out and hits you like a fucking truck. And the Wolf finally came is also an interesting one. It starts with something slightly more, maybe like 2005, 2006, kind of where metalcore were starting to add more kind of like bells and whistles, bits of acoustic guitar and more melody. Even the main riff that kicks in, like it could be from that kind of like that era of Shadows Fall, Kill Switch, All That Remains. But Thrillrot, still have that. They still kind of feed it with that more kind of aggressive, kind of blunt force trauma approach that you've heard from kind of earlier in the album as well. So it's pretty cool. It's a nice blend. And then the closing track, Doom, feels like a move towards something heavier. Like the guitars, I wasn't sure if the guitars had been down tuned slightly or if they'd switched to like a 7 or an 8 string or something like that. But the tone feels thicker. Like it had like this kind of Meshuggah kind of esque kind of feel about it, which I didn't not enjoy. So this album, it kind of started in a way where I thought I knew where it was going, but then they did enough to like keep me on my toes the whole time. Do I think it always kind of flowed perfectly kind of stylistically as an album? I'm not completely sure. Sometimes I felt like a couple of switches maybe felt a little too unlubed, maybe. But this is also
Fucking easy now, Jesus Christ.
but
First review of the night.
it's also a debut album, so I feel like there's a little bit of that to be expected as well on this
We
release.
talk about this with debuts. Sometimes bands will throw everything
Yeah,
at the
too
wall
much, yeah.
because it's their first album and they don't know,
Yeah.
one, if they're getting a second album, and two, how this is going to play out with where they've been playing. So
Yeah. But I feel like this is a band that, like, at this stage in their career, they sound great already, so they are only going to become kind of more kind of cohesive as they go forward because they've got the chops, like 100%. These guys can play, and they're very creative with their ideas, and they've got personality as well. With that you can hear that in the music, and with a kind of production team like they have on this album, there was no way this wouldn't absolutely slap. Like this sounds killer. Like great job on the production. So what we're thinking scores wise for Thrillrot by Thrillrot, Duncan?
I think this is great. Oh, there's so much to enjoy here. Like I say, I don't think they're necessarily reinventing the wheel, but I like their take on the wheel.
Yeah.
It rolls for me. So I'm giving this a 4.
Yep. I'm going to join you on that 4, Duncan. Really good. I think these guys have got something for sure. There's like, yeah, there was little bits of connective tissue that wasn't always there for me, but there's still a hell of a lot to like here, and I really look forward to hearing what they do next on the follow up. So, Thrillrot, debut album out on October 17th on Lost Future Records. Check it out, see what you think. Have a look at the links. You can check out the pre-order and Bandcamp. I'll stick one of the singles in there as well so you can have a listen. Happy to hear your thoughts and opinions on it. Let us know. That is the review. Thank you for checking out. We'll be back with another review very soon. But until then, take care. Catch you on the next one.
Bye, everyone.